In a world obsessed with noise, fame, and speed, one woman chose silence, obscurity, and service. She owned nothing. She commanded no army. She held no political power. Yet presidents stood when she entered a room. Nations paused to listen when she spoke. And millions still whisper her name when they think of compassion. This is not just the story of Mother Teresa. This is the story of how one ordinary life, devoted fully to care, can shake the conscience of the world. If you've ever felt small, if you've ever wondered whether kindness still matters, if you've ever asked yourself, can one person really make a difference? Stay with me, because this story might change the way you live. She was born in 1910 in a modest home in Skopje. Her given name was Anjeze Gongshe Bojakshiu. Her family wasn't rich. They weren't powerful. But inside that home, something priceless lived: compassion in action. Her mother would say, "Never eat a single mouthful unless you are sharing it with others." Those words didn't fade. They planted roots. As a child, Anjeze watched her mother care for the poor, the sick, the forgotten. No speeches. No cameras, just love, practiced daily. And somewhere deep inside her young heart, a quiet question formed. What if my entire life was given to this? At just 18 years old, she made a decision most people never dare to make. She left her home. She left her language. She left her family, and boarded a train to Ireland. No guarantees, no comfort. From there, she would travel to India, a land she had never seen, to become a missionary. Imagine that. No Google, no phone, no safety net. Just faith, and a heart willing to serve. When she arrived in India, she saw beauty, poverty that crushed hope, illness that stole dignity, people dying alone, unseen, untouched. And for years, she taught in a convent school. She was safe. She was respected. She was comfortable. But comfort wasn't her calling. In 1946, while riding a train to Darjeeling, something happened. She later called it the call within the call. A clear, undeniable inner voice spoke. Leave the convent. Go into the slums. Serve the poorest of the poor. This wasn't poetic. It wasn't symbolic. It was terrifying. Because answering that call meant giving up security, walking alone, depending entirely on faith. Most people ignore such moments. They rationalize them away. But Mother Teresa listened. In 1948, she stepped into the streets of Calcutta wearing a simple white sari with blue borders. No money, no helpers, no organization, just a burning conviction. I am here to care. She began with one thing: teaching children in the dirt, writing letters in the dust, washing wounds no one else would touch. People laughed. Some criticized. Many ignored her. But she kept going, because she believed this truth. If you can't feed 100 people, then feed just one. And that belief would soon ignite a movement. Calcutta was not kind. The streets did not whisper suffering, they screamed it. Children with hollow eyes, bodies lying beside busy roads, the smell of sickness, hunger, and abandonment, hanging in the air. Most people learned how to look away. Mother Teresa learned how to look closer. She walked where others rushed past. She knelt where others recoiled. She touched where others feared contamination. Because to her, suffering was not a problem to be solved. It was a person to be loved. She once said, "I do not agree with the big way of doing things. To us, what matters is an individual." And that belief guided every step she took. In India, many of the people she served were considered untouchable. Not just poor, not just sick, untouchable. Society had decided they were invisible, disposable. Mother Teresa rejected that idea completely. She picked up those left to die, She cleaned wounds filled with maggots. She fed mouths too weak to speak, not with gloves of superiority, but with hands of humility. When someone asked her how she could bear such work, she answered, "It is not how much you do, but how much love you put into doing it." That sentence alone has outlived empires. There were no grand strategies, no 5-year plans. Just today, just this person, just this moment. A man dying alone in the gutter was no longer a statistic. He was someone's son, someone's brother, someone worthy of dignity. Mother Teresa believed every human being deserved clean hands holding theirs, a kind voice speaking their name, love at the moment of death. That belief changed the atmosphere wherever she went. Something extraordinary happened. Young women began to notice. They watched her work. They saw her joy, even in suffering. And they asked the question that would multiply her mission. How can I do this too? At first, she hesitated. This life was hard, demanding, but she understood one truth. Love grows when it is shared. Slowly, carefully, she began training others. Not in theory, but in action. In 1950, the missionaries of charity officially began. Their rules were simple and radical. Own nothing. Serve joyfully. See Christ in the poorest. They wore the same simple white sari. Not to stand out, but to belong among the poor. Each sister committed to a life many would consider unbearable. But to them, it was freedom. One of the most defining moments of Mother Teresa's mission was the opening of Nirmal Ride, the home for the dying. It began when she found a woman half-eaten by rats. Hospitals refused her, so Mother Teresa carried her away. That moment led to a home where people could die, clean, loved, remembered. She said, "I want you to know that you mattered." And in that place, people believed it. Word spread. Journalists came. Volunteers arrived. Donations followed. But Mother Teresa never changed. She measured success differently. Not by numbers, but by love. She warned, "Do not think that love, in order to be genuine, has to be extraordinary." By the 1,960 seconds and 70 seconds, America began paying attention. News stories aired. Churches invited her. Universities honored her. But she never softened her message. She challenged the comfortable. In the United States, she spoke about loneliness, abortion, neglect of the elderly. She said, "The greatest poverty in the West is not hunger. It is not being wanted." That statement shook rooms. In 1979, the world reached a turning point. Mother Teresa was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. She refused the celebratory banquet, asked that the money be given to the poor instead. Standing before kings, presidents, and global leaders, she did not flatter them. She challenged them. She said, "If we have no peace, it is because we have forgotten that we belong to each other." The room fell silent. A woman who owned nothing, speaking to those who had everything. That was the climax. Love confronting power. After the Nobel Prize, the world knew her name. But she returned to the streets. Same sorry, same work, same humility. She once said, "God does not call me to be successful. He calls me to be faithful." That mindset protected her mission. Here is the uncomfortable truth. Most of us want impact, but not inconvenience. Mother Teresa teaches us that true change costs comfort, requires consistency, demands compassion. And yet, it is possible. Not everyone welcomed her presence. Local authorities questioned her. Doctors doubted her methods. Some accused her of doing too little, too slowly, too simply. They wanted systems. She wanted souls. When confronted, she never argued. She never defended herself with statistics. She answered softly, "We are not social workers. We are contemplatives in the heart of the world." And then she returned to work. What the cameras never showed was the discipline. 4:30 a.m. prayers, long hours of silence, days without rest. Love, for Mother Teresa, was not emotion. It was commitment. She taught her sisters, feelings come and go. Love is a decision. That mindset kept the mission alive when inspiration faded. By the late 1970 seconds, the missionaries of charity were no longer just in India. They were in New York, Los Angeles, Rome, Africa, Latin America. Wherever loneliness existed, they followed. In American cities, Mother Teresa saw a different kind of poverty. Not hunger for food, but hunger for meaning. When Mother Teresa spoke in the United States, she didn't adjust her message. She challenged success culture. She challenged individualism. She said, "If you want to change the world, go home and love your family." That sentence landed hard, because it demanded responsibility, not applause. Years of service took their toll. Her body weakened. Illness followed her. Yet she refused to slow down. When urged to rest, she replied, "I cannot stop. The poor cannot wait." This was not heroism. It was surrender. Few people knew that behind her radiant smile lived deep inner struggle. Long seasons of spiritual darkness. Silence, where she expected comfort. Yet she served anyway. This was her greatest lesson. You do not need certainty to be kind. You need commitment. Because most people quit when it gets hard. Mother Teresa continued when it got quiet. When praise faded. When strength weakened. When answers disappeared. That is where true impact lives. By the time the world called her a saint, she had already given everything. No savings, no comfort. Only a trail of lives touched. And now, her story turns toward its final question. What remains after a life devoted to care? This is where the story turns. From her life to yours. But someone near you is hurting. Someone feels invisible. And you can be the difference. Mother Teresa never asked people to admire her. She asked them to act. She said, "Yesterday is gone. Tomorrow has not yet come. We have only today." So here is the challenge. Call someone you've ignored. Listen without interrupting. Serve without posting. Do it quietly. Do it faithfully. If this story touched you, subscribe for stories that awaken purpose. Share this with someone who needs hope today. And most importantly, live this message. Because the world does not need more noise. It needs more care. And as Mother Teresa proved, a life devoted to care never truly ends.